Hey everybody, it's Robert C. Stern with The Social Leader, and welcome to another edition of A Conversation Live. This week we're going into an industry that is close to my heart. I spent 10, 11 years as a real estate agent myself until I transferred over and became into social media training, started in the real estate industry, and brought on somebody I've known at least 5 years, maybe even more at this point. We met on Facebook, and he was an agent himself when he started, but now he is a director of the outreach program with the Zillow Group. So here I introduce Mr. Jay Thompson. Hello,
Glad to be
Jay.
here. Thanks for having me, Robert.
No problem. And we were talking about it a little before we went on. It's like, oh my God, how many years do we know each other from? And we all met on Facebook.
Yep, it's been a while.
And we've all gone through a lot.
Yes, we have.
So for those of you guys that may not know you, you know, a lot of people in the real estate industry kind of know you because you've been filtering around, obviously, through Zillow. But prior to Zillow, kind of give a little bit of a history, because I know more about that than I did know more about your Zillow.
Sure. For years, for decades, I worked in the semiconductor manufacturing industry, which is a brutal business. It's very cyclical. And I spent the last 3 years in human resources, basically doing nothing but shutting down factories and laying people off. The whole time knowing that when we were done with factory closures and layoffs, that the human resources department would be next. So that happened, got separated, and decided at that point that I was sick and tired of life in corporate America. So I thought, you know what can I do? I've got the severance money. I've got a little money to live on. So my wife and I had some friends that had been in real estate for about a year that were doing pretty well with it. So my wife and I looked at each other and said, let's get our real estate license and see if we can make this thing happen. And so we did. That was 2004-ish. And my plan from day one of getting my real estate sales license was to open my own brokerage, which in Arizona, you have to be licensed. You have to have a sales license for 3 years before you can sit for your broker's exam. So right at the 3-year point, I got my broker's license. And then shortly after that, my wife and I opened Thompson's Realty, which is a small independent boutique brokerage in the Phoenix market. And that did really, really well. And about 4 years into that, Zillow reached out to me. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting in Seattle working for Zillow. And that was in March of 2012. And I've been here ever since. And I love it. So you're there, Robert? You look like you're frozen. Uh-oh. Are we having tech trouble? I don't know if anybody can hear me because I can't hear Robert. What to do? Hello, hello, hello. I think I've lost Robert. I have no idea if anybody's listening to this. Waiting for people to join this video call. Robert appears to have dropped out of the call, and I have no idea if anybody's online. Stand by, because I know he's trying to get back in. Welcome to Google Hangouts. Sometimes, technology is what it is. It's pretty compelling stuff, though, isn't it? Sorry, folks. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. All right, I'm going to try hanging up and joining back in. Well, I'm back. I don't know if Robert's back yet or not. Robert, are you there? He said his computer rebooted. So hopefully when that's done, he'll be back. Meanwhile, I will attempt to keep you entertained. Shall I dance? Sing? Trust me, you don't want me to sing. I don't think he's around. Okie dokie then. What are we going to do with this? We don't know. Are you there, Robert?
This is what live streaming is all about.
Yeah, isn't it? Technology.
I'm listening to you, and the next thing, all of a sudden, my screen goes completely blue and says, malfunction. We'll be rebooting in 5 seconds. I went, no!
Welcome to technology.
As much as we love it and have it, and it helps us,
yep,
we're controlled by it.
Yes, we are. Very much so.
So sorry about
that. No problem. I'm not sure where it dropped out or cut out or if it even cut out. So
no, it's still going. You were still live, I think. So I was trying to get you on the phone real quick, like go into it while my computer reboots. So you were talking about human resources. And
yes. So anyway, make a long story short, 20 years in corporate America. I got tired of it, got into real estate, mostly because of the entrepreneurial aspects of it. I wanted to run my own business. And so we did. My wife and I started a brokerage, and it went very, very well and did great. And then Zillow called, and the rest is history. Here I am, and I've been here since March of 2012.
Yeah, I remember seeing when you posted it, and I was kind of like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yeah, it's a bit out of left field for a lot of people.
Now, when you first got into real estate, so it was 04, 05.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Social media wasn't what it was yet. I mean, the Facebook wasn't even available till the end of 05.
Yep. No, there was no Facebook, no Twitter. I did have a blog very early on, which has social media components to it. But, that's really about it. You tried to network as best you could. I mean, real estate's a very social business, but we didn't have the platforms back then that we have today. Not even close. It was very different.
I know. Now, you really built that blog up, I remember. I mean, you really
did.
Strong.
I spent thousands of hours literally working on that blog, designing it, tweaking it, writing content for it. And it did very, very well. It actually had 1 million visitors for the year for the last year that it was active before I sold it. I sold it just about a little over a year ago to some agents in Phoenix.
That's fantastic. I mean, and that's what shows, it's funny. I did one of these last week, and we were talking about blogging.
Yep.
And how it's still relevant.
It absolutely is. Content is relevant. People crave content, and a blog is just a good platform to distribute your content on. Mm-hmm. It works. It's a ton of work. There's no magic pill in real estate or really any other business, but you put the work and effort into it, and it can absolutely pay off. But it is a ton of work.
Oh, it is. I mean, how often did you blog? Was it once a week, or was it?
Oh, it was at least 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes 7 times a week. In the beginning, it took me about 6 months to learn that I needed to publish content more frequently because nothing was happening. Once I finally clued in that, you know what, it's a volume thing. And I mean, quality certainly matters and ultimately is what matters. But there's a quantity component to it as well. You've got to have volume. You've got to attract readership. And the way to do that is through pushing regular content out.
Mm-hmm. Now, once more social media started to come out, Facebook started to build up, and then Twitter kicked in, and LinkedIn kicked in.
Yeah.
Did you use that more for business, or was it more just a variance tool for you to get your blog out because that was kind of your meat and butter?
That was really it. I used what I call, what other people call the hub and spoke model. You know, think of a bicycle wheel. It's got a hub in the middle of it and spokes going to the outside. So the hub was the blog. That was where I wanted to drive all the attention and focus to, was the blog platform. So I used social media out on those spokes to engage with people in the social space and hopefully drive them back to the content on the blog. Plus, I used it for fun. I'm a social guy, and I love networking and all that kind of stuff. So it was just, social is a very cool tool. It can be used a lot of different ways, which is one of the things I like about it.
So in your opinion, when Facebook went public, not public as in the company public, but when it came out to outside of the college,
right, outside of college,
what was your first reaction?
I'm pretty sure my first reaction was, this is stupid. I know that was my first reaction with Twitter. That's my current reaction with Snapchat. So it was probably my first reaction with LinkedIn. I think almost every major social platform, I've just looked at it initially and gone, this is dumb. I didn't get it. I looked at my first Facebook status update a few months ago. It popped up in a memory or something. And it was, it was just something silly like, what is this Facebook thing? And it took a while to figure that out. But it didn't take too long, because once I started connecting, making friends on Facebook, then it kind of all started to fall into place. And I'm like, wow, here's a platform that's out there 24/7, 365, worldwide, that, and of course my first thought again goes back to the blog. And I'm like, how can I utilize Facebook to push readers or potential clients over to my blog? And I'm sure if I went back in my, if I went back in my Facebook history, it would just be linked post after linked post, go read this, go read this, go read this. Because I really didn't get the engagement side of it in the beginning.
Yeah, because when I started, I got thrown to Facebook by my nephew, who was in college at the time. Mm-hmm. And they had some pictures up of a fraternity party. So we all know where this is going. Yep. Red Solo cups, white dresses, and ping pong balls.
Yep.
And he wanted me to check them out. And as many of us can remember, the early days when Facebook opened up, and it was the Facebook, you couldn't see anything inside it unless you signed up.
Right.
Now it's open more.
Yep.
So
yep.
they sent me the link, and I went, all right, I'll check it out. So I logged in, did the whole thing, saw the pictures, went, had the memories of me in college in my fraternity.
Yep.
We've all been there.
Yep.
And once you're invited, of course, it's like, well, let me see what this is about.
Yep.
And I literally, because that was back then when you can search for people by high school. Right. Because it was the early days. You could look, that was the way to find people, colleges and high schools. And I must have found, 60 or 70 people I graduated with that were on it.
Yep.
Which scared me, because I thought I was a very technical guy. And I'm like, how did these guys get on it before I did?
Yep.
And it's kind of like walking into, if you and I met in the middle of the street, we went to high school, it's, hey, Jay, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing now? You're married. What do you do for work? The non-chit chat. And that's what Facebook started as, when you created and found people from long time ago to what's going on with your life. And of course I said, well, I'm a realtor here in Livingston, New Jersey. And they were like, oh, okay. Oh, that's a shame. We're selling our house in Connecticut and we're moving to Green Bay. And I'm sitting there going, I can help you.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I had 2 referrals and they paid.
Nice.
And the light bulb went off. So you were blogging. I wasn't really into blogging early on. And I'm sitting there going, referrals.
Yep.
I live 20 miles outside New York City. So I start friending agents all over the nation. And I remember 4 months, and I was having fun on my profile page and stuff with my question of the day. And 4 months later, I got a call from somebody in Arizona, actually, who I friended. Somebody from my town went out there to visit, retiring, friends with these people, bought a house, and needed to sell their house back in Livingston. On Facebook, he said, wait a minute, I think I know a Livingston realtor we can help with. Referred it to me. It was a $900,000 listing.
There you go. It works. It really works. Funny.
Just from talking to people.
Yep.
So I was sold right there. You know, I was like, oh my God, this could be, and it's free.
Exactly. Just takes a little time. That's all.
You know, the heck with the couponer that goes out in the mail.
Yeah.
This is, you know. So what was it when Zillow called that drew you to it?
That's a good question. There's a couple of things. One, I've always been a bit of a nerd at heart, right? I love technology. It's always fascinated me. And we are fundamentally a tech and a media company. So just the opportunity to work in technology, real estate technology in particular, was fascinating. I like to help people. And I thought, you know, as a broker, I can help my 32 agents be more successful. As someone at Zillow that's reaching out to the industry, I can help tens of thousands of agents be successful. So that had a lot of appeal to me. And then there's some personal reasons. You know, my dad lives in a suburb of Seattle and he's not getting any younger. So that was part of it. The timing was right because my youngest child was about ready to graduate from high school and go off to college. My wife was born and raised in Phoenix, and both of us were getting tired of the summer heat. Just lots of little things started to stack up, and it was just the right offer for the right job at the right time. It was like a perfect storm, and it all just came together. And I've also always, I'm an Army brat, so I've always been a bit of a wanderer. I've never lived in one place. In fact, Phoenix is the longest I've ever lived in any one, well, the second longest I've lived in any one place. So I was ready for a move. I love the Pacific Northwest. It's gorgeous up here. So it just all these things kind of all came together and added up to accept
the stars aligned.
Yep.
And then 3 weeks after you started your job, the stars were so aligning so well
that I had a heart attack, and it was a big one. And you know, I like to say, I mean, Zillow didn't cause my heart attack, but my overweight.
Let's get that on record right now.
Yeah, my overweight, sedentary lifestyle as a former smoker is what caused my heart attack. But there was probably a stress component too. I mean, think about it. My youngest child was about ready to leave home. We were closing or didn't know what to do with our brokerage at the time, shifting careers, relocating, new job. Those are all big, giant stress factors. So I'm sure that all that added up. But really, I have pretty much nobody to blame but myself. I was fat and out of shape, to be perfectly honest. But I feel great now. Haven't had any other trouble. I did have one little cardiac problem a couple years ago, but that was fixed with a stent, and everything's good. And I'm 50 pounds lighter than I was at the heart attack, so I feel great.
Because I know you've been exercising. Oh, yeah. I remember the walking and then the running.
I walk a lot. I would like to run more, but I'm old and my knees hurt. But I walk.
Not that old, because we're probably close to
55.
And I'm 50.
Well, I walk probably 50 to 70 miles a week. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
So the biggest question on mind, and a couple people tweeted this to me, I remember when they saw that you were coming on. What is the difference in Zillow's mind and from a realtor's point of taking the Zillow cap off and putting your realtor hat on, because you've been in that situation, which is a great thing. You understand what the realtors are going through and everything else. What is the difference in your mind between a Zillow, a Zillow, not that they're together, a Zillow, Trulia, a Realtor.com, the House.com, all these different things? What is it about Zillow that makes it so much more in the people's eyes?
That's a good question. A lot of it is the marketing and PR work that we've done. We have a world-class public relations team. and that are very, very good at what they do. And what they do is get our brand out there. So we've also been around for 10 years, which doesn't sound like long. And in the grand scheme of things, 10 years isn't very long. But in the real estate internet space, Zillow was an early adopter, an early provider. So that longevity certainly helps. Now, we do own Trulia now. We acquired them, it's got to be going on 2 years now. But they're completely separate sites, and that's by design. We keep them separate because some people prefer to go to Trulia, some people prefer to go to Zillow. But we've combined those two companies' cultures in workflow and things like that. So you have a very powerful force in Zillow Group. We've got, depending on how you measure it, I mean, by any measure, Zillow is the #1 traffic site by a long shot, real estate site. Trulia bounces between #2 or #3 with Realtor.com, depending on whose numbers you listen to. So when you take the #1 site and the #2 or 3 site and combine them into one force, that's pretty powerful stuff. But I really think a lot of it goes back to our marketing and our PR. We're very good at that. We've got great commercials. We've got a very strong social team that gets us out in the social space, being primarily Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, although we do some Snapchat stuff and do LinkedIn and we do it all. But having those dedicated resources is a huge plus. There's no question about it. I haven't looked at our Facebook page. I look at it almost every day. I haven't paid attention to the number of likes, but we're well over 1 million likes on Zillow's consumer Facebook page. We actually have 2 Facebook pages, a consumer-facing page and an agent-facing page. So we've just got good teams that do good work and get that branding and that messaging out there, and they're really good at what they do.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just like any other. When you talk about real estate, Zillow, like you said, it's a real estate company in a way, but it's on the marketing side of it all.
Yep.
And it works just like real estate does. Some locations Zillow is amazing at. I mean,
sure.
When the agents are talking, you hear agents talk, and we kind of both go in many of these real estate groups that are all over Facebook and everything else, and you got some people that are raving about Zillow, and of course you're going to have some haters because know something. I look at it this way: if you don't have a hater, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. I look at it the same way, and we do have our dissenters and detractors, but that's gotten better over the last years. There's no question that the hate volume has been ratcheted down. It's a very vocal minority is what it is out there. Most people, at least in the data that I collect, most people that tend to rail on Zillow have never been a customer, so they don't really, to be honest, they don't really know how it works because they never worked it. Not everybody is successful. There's not an advertising company out there whose clients have a 100% success rate. There's so much. We provide the ability for consumers to contact agents, right? That's our platform. It's a big giant website. We do tons of PR work and marketing to get that website out there in the consumer's mind. And we have a big giant blue button on it that says contact an agent. And that's how we make our money is by agents advertising on our site. What the agent does with the contact after they get it is very dependent, of course, on that agent. We provide a ton of free training because clearly we want agents to be successful with their advertising. We want them to convert contacts to closings because then real estate agents make more money and the advertising works, so they buy more advertising. They write us bigger checks. That's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for the agent because they're successful. So we provide a lot of training to help agents close these contacts. I can't force somebody to take the training. I can't force an agent to set up the systems to respond quickly and thoroughly to their contacts, but we can provide the opportunity for them to do that. The simple fact is there are quite a few people that pay us for contacts that then when they get one, they do nothing with it. It boggles my mind. Because we can tell, we have systems in the back end. We know we have phone numbers that we assign agents so they know when a Zillow lead's coming in. So we can tell how many times these phone calls are picked up. how many times they roll over to voicemail. So we can gather data on how often agents reach out and how fast they contact how fast they make contact with the contacts. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is some agents will write us a check and then do nothing with the leads that they get, which I don't understand. I don't understand why you would pay for a lead and then do nothing with it. But it happens.
The biggest thing is you should never assume just because when they pick up the phone and you hear the information about the lead. I mean, I have one from the past where this person could not buy a house. Mm-hmm. Their credit was horrible.
Sure.
They were young, and not that that's the reason, but it just their credit was horrible. They needed to build up. They needed to build a deposit, and I treated them nicely, and I treated them in a situation of guiding them to a credit repair place, and to maybe we should talk to a financial person who could help you with putting a savings together and see what kind of time frame we're working on to get you into a house that maybe you need to rent, and I'll help you find a rental until then and stuff.
Right.
And we did all that stuff. 3 weeks later, I got a phone call. It was the parents.
Yep.
They sold their house with me.
There you go. See?
Because I took the time and treated this person as a human being.
Yep. And I hear that over and over and over. I talk to a lot of our advertising agents, and because we want to know, we being Zillow Group, want to know what makes an agent successful with us. Then we can replicate it and improve it and blah, blah, blah. So I talk to tons of agents, and consistently, I hear a few things consistently. One, respond quickly. When you get a contact, you have to respond fast. And that's just the nature of the internet consumer, right? They click contact an agent, they expect to get contacted really, really quick. And I mean like within minutes, not hours. I've talked to agents, they go, well, I always respond fast. No more than a day or two before I respond. Well, that's not going to cut it, because in that day or two while they're waiting for you to respond, that consumer's already gone off and clicked that contact an agent button 100 other times or gone to different websites. So you got to respond fast. But the other thing that I consistently hear is what you just said. Be helpful. It really boils down to be helpful. We get a fair amount of agents that say, look, I don't want these rental leads, right? I don't do rentals. There's not enough money in rentals. I don't want anything to do with rentals. Why do you keep sending me rental leads? Well, here's what you do. You help them, you cultivate them, and at some point, the vast majority, I don't know what the stat is, but a lot of renters turn into buyers at some point. So when they turn in from a renter to a buyer, they're going to need a real estate agent. And if you've been helpful to them, they're likely to remember you. I was just talking to one of our advertising agents the other day. She posted in one of our private groups that she had a rental contact. And this is in Southern California, so it's a little bit different. Home prices are really expensive. But this contact told her, I'm looking for a rental in the $5,000 a month range. So he's obviously, did okay money-wise. And she said, I'll be happy to help you. How about can I send you some rentals that meet that criteria? And would you be okay if I sent you some for sale listings that, are in that $5,000 a month mortgage range? Now, obviously, she doesn't know exactly what the mortgage is going to be, but you know the difference between a $1,000 a month mortgage and a $10,000 a month mortgage. Right. And he said, sure, no problem. Well, what do you think happened? He starts looking through the listings and going, well, I can rent this for $5K or I can buy this for $5K a month. He wound up buying not one house, but two houses. I think he might have gotten one for parents or a friend or something, and then was either downsizing or upsizing. So she listed his current house. She basically got 3 transactions off of one rental lead that a lot of people, as soon as they heard, I'm looking to rent, they would have said, I can't help you. And they'd have hung up the phone. Happens all the time.
Yeah, I did that. Another one I did, woman called me. Actually, she called me off Zillow.
It happens.
She called me off Zillow. It's a while ago, but she called me off Zillow. And she rented this small little 1-bedroom place in Short Hills, Millburn. I'm sure you know the town. And just a small little place. And her daughter was involved, and her daughter wanted to buy a condo. So she was along the way and blah, blah, blah. Well, the problem was she wanted to buy a condo in this area that I wasn't part of as an MLS.
Right.
Another part of Jersey. But she knew the complex she wanted. She knew the exact complex, no other complex.
Yep.
the type of apartment, how many bedrooms, everything else. So I said, all right, I can do a search on MLS. And I said, listen, if you want, I can refer you to somebody that really. She goes, no, I like the way that you negotiate and dealt. I'd rather deal with you. I said, okay. So I called around to a couple of realtors. I said, I have a client of mine. It's a very good friend of mine. She wants me to help her. I'd like to come down and see. Is there any way we could meet there so you can open it up? Because I don't have the lockbox key.
Yep.
She saw 2 places, went home that night, signed an offer on one of them, had it closed the next day.
There you go. It's funny how that works.
Because I helped her mother.
Yep.
And then I remember it going up on the board. I worked for Weichert at the time. It went on the board because we have the big board in the back of the house. So everybody sees everybody's sales.
Yep,
and they were looking at me like, Robert, what the heck were you doing in Edison?
Yeah. Selling a house, selling a condo.
Yeah, it was a $350,000 condo.
Yeah, being helpful it seems so stunningly obvious, but it's missed by a lot of people. It really is. And I've talked to agents who have said, I got a Zillow contact. I did this and that, and it just never worked out. And 6 months later, somebody emails me and says, you don't know me, but you worked with Robert 6 months ago. He never bought a house from you. And it was a 30-second phone conversation that this person remembered. He went to work one day and somebody sitting in the cube next to him goes, I'm thinking about buying a house. You wouldn't happen to know a real estate agent, would you? And the guy goes, I don't really know them, but I talked to this, I found this agent on Zillow and I talked to him about 6 months ago and they were super friendly. Here's their number. Getting referrals from an internet lead that you only talked to for 30 seconds can happen if you are nice and helpful. It's really all you got to do.
So what do you think the number one thing that agents are having not an issue, but a problem with in understanding Zillow, in the use of Zillow?
I think fundamentally a lot of agents feel threatened. We're big, right? We have a huge internet presence, obviously. I think part of the problem, and I'm just speaking from having hundreds of discussions on the subject. There's a subset of agents that seem to be fully convinced that we are out to replace real estate agents. Nothing could be further from the truth. First of all, it makes no sense. Our primary revenue stream is agent advertising. I don't know of any business that's ever been successful with a strategy of eliminating their customers. So it just doesn't make any sense that we would want to eliminate our customers. I think that feeling probably stems, or at least initially started, because the 2 co-founders of Zillow also founded Expedia years ago, and Expedia pretty much pounded the travel agent into oblivion, or at least it helped. You
really didn't see the travel agent.
Yeah, it helped do that. So I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people, because I used to write about it on my blog, and this is long before I worked at Zillow, a lot of agents would go, oh, look, Rich Barton and Lloyd Frink started Expedia and torpedoed the travel agents' careers. Now they're starting this real estate site. They're going to torpedo real estate agent careers. And some people just cannot let that go. It's been a decade since we started. And if we wanted to open a brokerage or do some of the things that people think is our ultimate goal, what are we waiting for, right? We are a media and technology company that sells advertising to agents. We are the newspaper of the 1970s and 80s. That's really all we are. We have zero desire to become a brokerage. We have even less desire to eliminate real estate agents who write us checks. No desire to be a national MLS. All these things that people have these that they speculate what our intent is. Our intent is to grow the biggest real estate marketplace on the internet and connect consumers to real estate agents. That's our intent. That's what we've been doing for the last 10 years. And that's what we'll be doing for the next 10 years.
Yeah. What's funny is you bring that up. It's to me, and I'm thinking, putting my realtor hat back on, you can't take away the personal side of a realtor dealing with people.
No.
Nothing you can do on the computer that will, they can't negotiate on the computer. They can't see the house. I mean, what are you going to do? You know this, the worst thing in the world before the closing is putting a buyer and a seller together without anybody else there to referee.
Yeah, that's horrible. Don't do that. No, the real estate transaction is way too expensive, infrequent, emotional to be replaced by a website or an app. It's just not going to happen. Will things change? Of course they'll change. I mean, look, we already talked about what's changed. 10 years ago, there was no Facebook, right? There was no Twitter. Who knows what it'll be like 10 years from now? I suspect you'll see, or I hope you'll see, a reduction in the paperwork side of the real estate industry because it's ridiculous right now.
I personally think it's going to get worse because of litigation.
It absolutely could. That would be a nice thing, I think, to see go away. And, unless I'm a title rep or a real estate attorney, you probably don't want that to go away. But you walk into a title office. I worked in title states. I think you guys are more attorney states. But you walk into a title office, and there is literally stacks of paper 3 and 4 feet high. It's insane. So if that kind of process, if that part of the home buying process can be streamlined or made more efficient, well, that allows the real estate agents to focus on income generating activities, i.e. getting more clients, and they'll make more money. But I don't think you will ever see the human being taken out of real estate. Again, it's really expensive. You hear that cliche all the time. It's your most expensive transaction you'll ever make in your life, which is true, more than likely. And it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen often enough. Right. Most people, I think what NAR says, most people buy a home every 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. So people don't have the experience. They don't understand what it takes. There's all kinds of potential liability and litigation issues. The human being's never going to be eliminated. The technology will change. Maybe, people may laugh, but if you're a Star Trek fan, you ever seen the holodeck, right? Where you walk into this thing and all of a sudden it's like you're on a different planet. 20 years, 50 years from now, will people be able to view homes in a holodeck kind of environment? Probably. Who knows? But you know what? You still can't smell the house. You can't see what the neighbors next door have done. And you can't, a holodeck or a virtual reality or whatever you want to call it is not going to replace the human element ever, or at least not in our lifetimes.
Well, I mean, the closest we're getting now is the live streaming aspect. We're doing it on this, but being able to take everything mobile now with your Facebook Live, with your Periscopes, with the YouTube Connect that's coming out soon, and all the ones that have been out there. And, I'm guilty. I love live streaming because it gets me in front of people and the engagement of live doing it. But it doesn't. It's kind of like the old thing, you look at pictures online at a house and then you go see the house and it's kind of like, I don't remember that from the pictures.
Yep.
And the same thing with a video. It can't 100% get, you got all these new programs out. You got Matterport and with the 3-dimensional look and the everything. You still need to physically see the house.
Yep. And I think you always will. Now, I mean, I sold a handful of houses to investors that never saw the property. They're in a different state. But that's the exception, not the rule. I mean, I don't know the number, probably 98% of the homes I sold were to people that walked through the home.
Yeah, but I just don't. An investor. You didn't sell a house to somebody who never saw a house, who was going to physically live in the house.
Right. No. Well, I think there was one. I think there was an Army guy, but that's one in a very unique situation type of thing. So it's just not going to happen. I just can't. Real estate agents are not going away. They're certainly not going to be replaced by a website or an app.
So what does Zillow have in place on the agent side to work with to spread their stuff over to social media type situations to help them enhance what they're doing on Zillow?
Not a lot, because the problem with sharing listings in the social space is different MLSs have different rules. And it's just a logistical error to go, okay, this MLS allows Facebook sharing on a listing. This MLS does not. And so there's 800 some odd MLSs across the country, a bunch of and probably 800 different sets of rules. So there's certain things we can't do just because we're national in scope. And it would just be a nightmare of epic proportions to try to control and implement all these different rules and make sure we were compliant. So a lot of this very simple things like share buttons don't exist because of that. Now, what we do, again, I'm going to go back to our training. We have what we call Zillow Academy, I'm sorry, it's been changed, Premier Agent Academy. And we do, in that training environment, offer some social training and some tips and tricks and webinars. We'll bring people in to talk about how to maximize social media in real estate. A lot of our training is obviously focused on Zillow specific things, but we do have many programs and webinars of more generic and general real estate related things, like how to use social media, how to use a CRM, should you be on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and blah, blah, blah. So we do our best to coach agents through as much as we can. We're somewhat resource limited. It's hard to coach 100,000 agents. But we want agents to be successful for two reasons. One, we like agents and we just want them to be successful. And two, we're capitalists, and the more successful agents are, again, the bigger checks they write us. I'm not ashamed to admit that. It's business. We want agents to write us bigger checks. Well, duh. That doesn't make us evil. It makes us.
We want to sell houses.
It makes us a for-profit business, right? We're not a nonprofit. I don't know of any agents that are nonprofits. It's funny. One of the very first negative reactions I got when I started at Zillow over 4 years ago, some guy was in some Facebook group, I'm sure. He goes, "You know what Zillow's problem is? You want to know what Zillow's problem is?" And I'm like, "I've been here 2 months. I'm like, I'd love to know what you think Zillow's problem is. Maybe I can help." He goes, "You just want to make money." And I was like, yes, you are right. We want to make money. If that's a problem, I don't know how to help you. And I asked that guy, I said, "Do you work for free?" "No, but I help people." Well, we help people too. I've had grown men, complete strangers, approach me at events, literally with tears in their eyes, saying, "Can I give you a hug just to thank you for everything Zillow's done for my business?" Okay, that's pretty damn cool. I like that. It made me feel good. Now, did I do anything to help him improve his business? I don't know. I'm one of 2,500 people that work here. Maybe I had something to do with it, but the fact is, Zillow helped him improve his business, and he was extremely appreciative of it. And we appreciate that. We're human beings too, right? And human beings fundamentally, hopefully, want to help each other. But when I say that, sometimes people go, you don't care about helping anybody. You just want to make money." Well, they go hand in hand. It's just like we were talking about earlier. When you're helping a contact find a rental, even in another city, you're helping them because, one, you like to help people, and two, you're hoping at some point that it comes back around and pays off. That's all we do, So I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I like the thing. You're only into making money, and it's kind of like, well, you're a real estate agent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even going to go into the subject, but I was like, my first reaction would have been, I guess he discounts his commission because it's not about the money.
Yeah. But I guarantee he didn't discount it to zero, right? So yeah, how do you handle
3 years ago when gas was $4 a gallon and you're taking these buyers out every weekend?
Yeah, exactly.
So with the ideas of Zillow, is there anything that you see in the future, like changes in your mind that could be happening more internet, social media combo? Where do you see it all going? Because you're on the tech side with Zillow. Mm-hmm. I'm on the tech side just in general. We've both been realtors. We've seen the changes over the past 10 years.
Yep.
The change of you and I got in close in the same time period. And I remember the stories of the veteran agents then. I like that word, veteran agent.
Yep.
What they had to go through to go from the MLS book to the MLS computer.
Yep.
and I look at how far we've changed in 10 years.
Yeah. There's no question that something's going to change. I do think, going back to the paperwork side of it, I hope that gets simplified and streamlined to some point. I think the transaction, all the crap that goes into from signing an offer to a recorded closing. That has got to become more efficient in some way, I would think.
And being that it varies so much state to state, because I get to hand it off to an attorney who takes care of title, who takes care of reading it, who takes care of doing that. I'm still doing the negotiations up there. But then you go to Florida, the agents are doing it. And the only reason I know Florida so well, the person I'm with right now, and she works in title in Florida. Oh my God, the stories I hear. Because she's waiting on the agents to do the CDs and all this other stuff.
Yeah, which is crazy. Purely from an agent perspective, tech-wise, I think there's going to be more and more tools to help them become more efficient. And that can be anything from prospecting to lead follow-up to contact management systems are getting more and more robust and powerful every day. Yet they are, if you listen to agents talk, it's a thorn in most agent sides. CRMs, they get big and kludgy. It seems like most CRM developers want to make the CRM that is the be-all, do-all, will do anything and everything, which complicates them. I think, if you look at a product like Top Producer, which is a super powerful product, a very powerful product, I would guess, and it's just pure speculation on my part, I'll bet the average agent only uses 10% of the power of a Top Producer type, that high level CRM, Salesforce, Top Producer, whatever it might be. I think you might see over in the coming years kind of a paradox in that rather than having these big, giant, super powerful software packages that do a bazillion different things, I think you might see technology actually stripping some of that stuff down and stripping out some of the complexity of those tools and making them simpler. I don't know, why can't there be a CRM that's just 5 icons, new client, old client, whatever it may be? Why does it have to be page after page after page after page of functionality? I don't know. So I think technology simplifying the agent's life is going to come out sometime. From a consumer's perspective, virtual reality is kind of a cool thing. Right now it's you put the big giant goggle headset on and maybe some gloves and you're, doing this and everybody's freaking out and the video is, or the virtual reality, the images are flickering and not, that stuff's going to get better. There's no question about it. But like we said earlier, that may help the consumers narrow down their choices or do some quote unquote pre-screening on the Internet of Homes, but you're never going to get, I don't think you're ever going to replace that actually going to the house. Now 10 or 20 years from now, I can see a consumer coming into a real estate office. You go into a little room and instead of putting on this big virtual reality headset, maybe just slip on a pair of glasses.
Google glasses.
Google glasses, maybe it's a chip in the back of your head that's been implanted, but I can see this viewing houses in the virtual space in a real estate office. Then the real estate agent goes, well, you ready to go look at homes? And he whips out his phone and he dials up an app like Uber and some driverless car pulls up to the front of the office and they both jump in and the driverless car takes them off on their pre-planned route to view homes.
Jetsons going on in my head.
Yeah, totally. Who knows? Technology will change. I don't think anybody would dispute that. The technology will change and will get better, faster, and stronger. What it changes into, who knows? 10 years ago, would we have imagined it is what it is today?
You said something in the beginning of this statement that I think holds true, not just realtors, but just people that use technology of any kind, whether it's a Zillow, whether it's a CRM, whether it's Facebook, whether it's any of these things. They're really only using 10% of what it's capable of doing. Now, I don't necessarily just mean the technology side. In other words, to know every little function. It's like going on PowerPoint. Right. I learned PowerPoint. I would type some stuff, and I'd hit a button and see what it did.
Yep.
Because there's a whole 50. If you hit, there's 20 buttons. You hit, there's 20 buttons. You hit, there's. What does each one do? I want to know which ones are going to be my favorites.
Yep.
And I think business in general is doing the same thing. They're going on Facebook and they're saying, all right, I'll throw some ads out and I'll do this and I'll do that. And it's like, do you realize there's like 70 other things you could be doing on Facebook?
Yep.
Oh, by the way, don't forget about the engagement that you're supposed to be incurring to do that. So when somebody writes something, like
Exactly.
you and I, you know, we get into a conversation on a thread where we go back and forth.
Yep.
I watch businesses and realtors. I see them do it because I'm friends with too many realtors. You know, I don't mean that bad, but so many realtors.
Right. Sure.
And they write something, and I see people write to them, and they never answer them back.
Yep. It's crazy.
And I'm like,
Just makes sense.
if you do that for your business, then you're not getting that much business.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's true, 10%. So what, you know, coming towards the end here, you know, what do you think some of the features are of Zillow that agents aren't using the most, that they should be using more of?
Great question. I look at a lot of profiles on Zillow, okay, and I see some, which is kind of the fundamental thing for agents to do: fill out a profile, an about me section, listings, past sales. And I see some very, very good profiles, and I see other ones that are, to be perfectly honest, are horrible. Or I shouldn't say they're horrible. They don't communicate anything to a potential consumer. And that's what the profile really does best, is communicate information to a potential consumer and encourage them to click on the contact an agent button. We've got a ton of stuff that can be done with a profile, right? You've got an about me section, which I tell people, don't make it about me, make it about what you do for the client. It really needs to be an about you section because it's consumers that are reading it. We have a section where listings go in, and we have a section for past sales. And a lot of people go, why should I give Zillow my past sale data? You're just going to take this data and do something nefarious with it. What? I don't know. The reason past sale data is powerful is because it's a great way to visually demonstrate to consumers how busy you are and where you work. So basically, the way past sales work is we try to auto-attach them to people via public records where we can, but agents can go in and manually upload their past sales. And it'll print right on their profile as a nifty little map with little dots all over it with all the homes you've sold. It's shocking to me how few agents take advantage of that, because what happens, a consumer, they go to a listing, they go to 123 Main Street on Zillow, and off to the side, there's 3 or 4 agents' faces showing with links to their profiles. That's where agents pay to advertise, is in that box. And we study consumer behavior religiously. We know consumers go and they start clicking on those agents, which then takes them to the profile where they can read about the agent and they can see their past sales. And it's just an incredibly powerful visual tool. So I live in downtown Seattle, and if I'm looking to buy a condo in downtown Seattle and I pull up an agent profile and I see a map of Seattle with all these red dots that the agent sold homes in, and they're all concentrated right in downtown Seattle, I'm going to go, that's a downtown Seattle agent expert, right? An area expert. I want to talk to that guy or girl. Or I can be a consumer and I can click on somebody's profile and I go down, scroll down to their past sales, and I see a big blank map. And I go, I mean,
I haven't even sold a house yet.
Well, yeah, why should I call this person? Because apparently they don't sell any real estate. Now, they may have actually sold hundreds or thousands of homes, but because they didn't fill out and complete their profile, it appears to the consumer that they're just not very active. So complete your profile. We even put a little bar across the top on the back end of the system. You know, your profile is 76% complete. Do this, 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 and this to reach 100%. I mean, we try to do everything we can to make it easy for people to complete these profiles. So there's a lot of incomplete profiles out there. And it's free. I mean, it doesn't cost you any dollars. It does take time to build a profile, but not a lot of time. Maybe you're sitting in an open house and nobody's walking through the door. Pull up your Zillow profile and just punch in a few past sales.
Same thing when you're watching America's Got Talent at night. You pull your pull your tablet up and punch in a few more.
Exactly.
2 or 3 a night.
Yep. I think something that agents could do that clearly not many do is scroll down to the bottom of any page on Zillow, and there's a little link that says Zestimate. Okay, click that. And you'll be sent to a page that's just this huge, long FAQ descriptions about what the Zestimate is and is not. I can tell by the conversations I see in the social space that a lot of agents don't understand the Zestimate. And because of our branding and our PR and our marketing, a lot of consumers do look at the Zestimate. So Zestimate objections, for lack of a better term, is something that agents need to know how to handle. Okay, just like agents handle commission objections all the time, there are consumers out there. You go to a listing presentation and you can say, I think we should list this house at $500,000. Fairly often, someone's going to go, but Zillow says my home is worth this, $600,000. Why should I list it at $500,000 when Zillow says it's worth $600,000? Agents need to be able to handle that conversation, right? They need to be able to say, look, Zillow's a great site. I get why you go there, but here's the deal with this estimate, right? It's pulled from public record data. Zillow can't see the inside of your house. They don't know if the neighbor across the street has a 67 Chevy up on blocks in the driveway. They don't know if the people down the road party all night long. A computer algorithm cannot value a home to the accuracy level that you want to put it on the market at. That's where I come in as a real estate professional. Now, let me explain to you how I came up with my valuation of $500,000. Take this estimate, and instead of condemning it and bitching about it and complaining about it, flip that around and use it as a tool to demonstrate your expertise. In our
both ways too.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can walk in and say the house is worth, put it on for $599, but they're like, but Zillow said $500.
Yep.
But
it does go both ways. Yep. So it's a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate your expertise. But understanding what it is, how it's calculated, what it's designed to do, what it's not designed to do. I mean, it is a Zestimate. It's you just putting a Z in front of the word estimate does not magically turn it into an appraisal. We don't call it a Zappraisal. We call it a Zestimate. And I think consumers understand what the word estimate means, but I can see them getting sucked up into it. And they're like, well, here's a big, huge website that says my home is worth this. But learn how to deal with that. And so go to that Zestimate page and you will get more education than you need, really, on what the Zestimate is and isn't. But if you don't do that, then the consumer goes, but Zillow says my home is worth this. And you could look at them with a blank look and you go, well, that's Zillow. Well, that doesn't help your client out at all. Explain how it's calculated. And you don't have to explain, believe me, I can't explain everything about how the Zestimate's calculated. It's a big, giant math formula. But if you understand that and understand the fundamentals that it's pulled from public records, sometimes public records are wrong, and can explain it in simple language. In our information, we have an accuracy table in that link, that Zestimate link at the bottom of the page, that you can drill down to the county level. I had an engineering type person as an agent go, Zillow says this. So I pulled out this chart and I go, this is also what Zillow says. It says the Zestimates in this area are plus or minus 8%. And the guy went, oh, well, I've never seen that before. And I go, this is also what Zillow says. That's in this area. I'm getting some feedback.
Sorry.
Nope, that's okay. So that's it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So for realtors that are watching that aren't involved, let's say, or they had some other questions, what's the best way? Is it through the Zillow customer service, or can they reach out to you? Or?
Anybody's welcome to reach out to me. That's part of my job. I'm the director of industry outreach. So I reach out to people, agents, let them come back to me. The email address is jayt@zillow.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I do ask people not to Facebook message me about business stuff, because while I do love Facebook messaging, it's not the best tool for me, because so much of what I get, I need to route to somebody else. And you can't forward a Facebook message. You can't put an out-of-office responder on Facebook Messenger. So email. And so because of that, I get dozens and dozens of Facebook messages a day. I get hundreds of emails a day. But it's just easier for me to manage email and keep track of it, and I check it more frequently. jayt@zillow.com. If people don't remember that, if you just Google Jay Thompson Zillow, you'll get my email address. That's by far the best way to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to help you. Now, I may not be able to help people or fix things. I don't work in sales. I can't. Someone could come to me with a credit card and go, I'll buy everything. I don't even have the capability to sell it to them. Now I will connect them to somebody that can sell it to them. And that's really, I do a lot of connecting, right? I don't work in customer support, but because I'm out there in the social space, people see me as a customer support advocate, or at least able to help. Again, that's where an email comes in handy, because if I get an email, I can forward it to customer support and say, please look into this. If somebody is already a Zillow Premier agent, hands down, the person they need to talk to for support issues is their rep, right? We call them business consultants, sales reps, whatever you want to call them. I see a remarkable number of people that'll post something on a Facebook group. This listing is broken on Zillow. Who do I call? Well, call your rep if you have one, right? If you're paying advertiser, yeah. If you're paying advertiser, call your rep. If you're not a paying advertiser and you need customer support, agentcare@zillow.com is a great way to get it. Or send it to me and I'll forward it to Agent Care. I don't mind. But don't send me a Facebook message, because then I have to get on my phone and copy it and paste it into an email, and that may not happen. So email.
Good. Well, I thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
I know it's still out there. It's coming on 10. You got the full day ahead of you.
Yep.
Maybe a little walking too.
Yep.
But thanks for taking the time. This way people have a little bit of understanding, a little bit more about Zillow and you, and we see you all around, and I'm glad you're doing healthy and everything. And
well, thank you.
Next time it's one of these conferences we'll actually meet.
Absolutely. Yep.
6 years later.
You think it'll happen.
So, and for everybody watching, I thank you very much for watching. And this has been another edition of A Conversation Live. Next week, we're actually going to have Brian Kramer on from Human to Human, H to H Talk, and Pure Matters. He wrote the book Shareology, so look forward to that one. And I will talk to you guys real soon. Take care.